Roll call, Mr. Venable,
Present.
Mr. Assist,
Present.
Ms. Gilbert, and Mr. Rich.
Present.
Before I get a motion to approve the agenda, I'd like to add number 3, discuss revenue auctions. So if you could add that to bottom number 3, discuss revenue auctions. So we'll have a ratification by Mr. Porter and a pledge by Mr. Rich.
God, our Father, we're blessed. We're blessed with this rain, but God, we pray that you'll keep folks from harm from the rain, that it won't cause damage and to property or to the loss of life or harm to people. So we're thankful for what you give us, but God, right now we just pray for people. We pray for the members of this commission as they discuss matters that involve the county. We pray for wisdom and discernment and patience. Pray that you'll watch over them and guide them every day. Be with us all. We're so thankful to live in this country and this county. Watch over us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since we've added a number 3, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? We don't have any awards presentation. Do we have anybody sign up? Don't think so. Speak.
We'll see, bud.
All right, discussion items. First one would be the Paint Rock Valley Historical Board. As of right now, we haven't got any letters of anybody wanting to be on this board. So we got to figure out how we're gonna move forward with that. Anybody got any suggestions?
I thought we had one
Remember we had somebody call and ask about it, then nobody ever sent a letter in.
That historical board is kind of throwing a few people off. I mean, there was already a historical board already created in the valley. And I know this is pertaining to the school, and, you know, we trying to put a little meeting together, and the people that I've talked to, I got some papers from Mr. Middleton here about 3 weeks ago on some expense bills, and everybody I've talked to, well, some of the different ones, not everybody, but there's been so much flu and sickness going on. They have not been able to attend, but they are still involved. And they felt like they needed to meet with some of the board members from the school system. That's what their thoughts are. I told them, I said, well, that's the reason they come to us, the superintendent, is wanting us to form something and kind of take it out of their hands and carry it to us, but they're not really wanting to agree with that. So I'm just kind of bringing you the information of what has been told.
Who don't want to agree with it?
The people that's involved in the school over in Paint Rock Valley, that they felt like they needed a little more information on what their plans was, what they was planning on doing, if we could maybe keep part of the school and move forward that way. So I said, well.
The way I understood it from the superintendent, they need, I mean, if somebody's gonna take it over, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Porter, but, I mean, they'd have to, somebody's going to pay the electric bill, the insurance, all these things to, you know, the upkeep on the building. And that's the reason we was gonna create a board to see if it's even feasible to do that. And I'm kinda at a loss about where we go now.
Well, that's,
Cause I mean, we could hold it open for another
that's what
2
I
weeks.
told them. I'd try to table it, to put it off a little bit, and maybe we can get together. Like I said, Mr. Porter had addressed the issue, and I had got one paper he had sent me, but it was not really what we needed. It was really basically when the school had been closed, and I talked to Mr. Dukes and got to Mr. Middleton, and he gave me a whole stack of papers. But some of the ones that was involved in kind of keeping the school maintained, they have had some health issues, and I talked to them, I said, come on the agenda, and they said, well, can you table it, where we can kind of go for a further discussion? And I said, well, I'll present it.
I think we need to set a deadline in one way or the other. I'd like to see something done with the school, personally. But, you know, I don't wanna leave it open-ended for a whole lot longer. The way I understood this whole process, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the school board approached us at the building, wanted to let the community see if they can, just like you said, they would have to come up with a business model of some sort to show how they can pay for it and the upkeep and the utilities. So we're gonna form a board, they were gonna do this research, get the, you know, the numbers together and come back to commission with a point. So, you know, we're not getting any letters of people wanting to be involved, and want to be a part of that committee. We need to have a meeting over there.
We could
We
set,
go to the community and have a community meeting, explain that to them, and, you know, give it a couple of 3 weeks or a month.
Well, that's what I explained to them, and it was kind of put on their table to make things happen, you know, as far as put something
It
together.
would be better to, that way, get everybody's input on, from the community, what needs to be done and what we expect to be done, you know.
our next work session will be March 4th. Try to do something that quick.
We could do,
It's either gonna be,
we could do a meeting, and then, we normally just advertise for boards 2 weeks.
right,
And this is maybe months. So if we have a meeting there, and then leave the advertisement 2 weeks after the
that'll
meeting,
put the 18th,
and
that we
then
can
let
put
that be the deadline of either we want board or not.
All right, Mr. Smith, at your area, do you know, can you get somewhere for us to meet set up on the 4th?
I think Mr. Dixon said we could use the facility at the school.
Oh, okay.
I think he had said that.
Yeah, I'll check and see, because that's not too far off, the 4th. Like I said, there's been so much sickness, I don't know, you know,
Well, I mean, that gives us 2
2
weeks
weeks. Yeah.
to just have the community
Right.
meeting, and then we'll set a deadline for 2 weeks after that.
Mhm.
That'd be a month. That should be more than enough time, once our community meeting, they get picked 2 weeks, if they wanna be on the board or not, to send in the letter.
Right.
So
I tried to explain to them the historical deal, that was just a name, but since it's already a historical thing, it was already set out there, they said, you're trying to use an entity that is already there, it's causing problems. And I said, well, I'll address that. I said, well,
I mean, if a board is, if there's enough people to set a board, they can
change the
name
name.
it whatever they wanna name it.
Yeah,
We just didn't want to call it the park board
yeah.
because of past issues. and-
Well, I told my mention, I said, when he brought up that name, I said, I know there's already a historical society involved. And they said, yes, we got all the paperwork, all the things to prove it,
Right.
so. But,
Is
so
there
you said March the 4th?
That's our next work session.
Have
Then
a
we can do
meeting.
a community meeting, instead of having a work session here, we'll have it in, at the Paint Rock Valley School.
Okay, I'll try to get something together.
And then we'll just go, y'all wanna plan that for what time? 6 o'clock?
Started Sunday, it won't be done early.
6.
Just figure get off work or whatever.
Does anybody else got anything else on that? Next be discuss courthouse security. This got brought up after we got a, paper on a meeting, for discussion. So does anybody got anything to add to this?
First, I want to say I have no desire or intention or want to do away with courthouse security. I want to say that first. I know there's been some discussion and some department heads have approached you, I think, about wanting to do
Employee interest.
employee
Yeah.
entrance and stuff. I guess that's what this meeting's all about. The way I understand the law and what I've researched, the presiding judge can create a, committee, the courthouse security committee, and then the committee comes up with a plan. The plan's submitted for the commission. The commission's the one that approves or, and they approve the plan in 09.
Correct.
if we didn't have a plan, if the commission removed their support of the plan, the commission could still have courthouse security in the same fashion and manner that they're currently doing. Somebody else have anything else to add on it or wanna?
What has really brought this on? I mean, different ones in the courthouse has contacted you, I mean, I
You
know.
talking about which part?
Well, I know we had some issues back earlier when we was trying to figure out,
Yeah, this don't have anything to do with the guards that's out there.
Yeah, I know that, but I know the judge, Holt met with us, and, you know, she had went over some things, and she had said something about having a meeting sometime in a previous time to go over things again, and set some stuff, is that basically what we're on?
Yeah, I think we had a meeting after that.
Yeah.
Me and you was at, I think me and you the only ones that looked at that day.
So,
And then since then, I've had some, it had contacted the office about employee insurance, and then there was some issues about other people using other doors, and that's what got the discussion
okay,
started.
that's what I was getting at, what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, all the doors need to be secured. I mean, we just can't have anybody walking in off the street, coming in, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, once you have the security, that later, I don't feel like you should or could or ought to remove it because it's a liability. I mean, once you've had that and presented that and it's been in effect, you remove it. If there is an incident, to me, you're opening up a big liability.
so, I got a thought, just with
As far as the board, I know the presiding judge is the one that gets to appoint the board. I never knew I was on the board. I mean, that, and I got that in the mail last week, that I was pretty much being told to be at a meeting that I
You
didn't
were
even know.
requested to be at the meeting. I believe that's what the order said.
I think it was the issue, there's an order, is what, is
Yeah.
the issue was.
The order set the meeting and all members were requested to attend.
Is it gonna be open like we did last time?
It's fine with me if it is. I have nothing
Well,
to hide.
Well, I'm just asking, I didn't know if it's something that we're gonna, is it just for these people here, or if
It'll
it's
be for
everybody?
whoever wants to attend.
Okay.
I thought you got a copy of the order the last time we had a meeting. Mr. Bill. It was delivered to the commission meeting. Where do you want your notices sent? I brought all of it to the commission
Yeah,
office.
I've received this latest.
And our chairman told me you were there, but decided not to stay for it.
On the first meeting that you had, I have no problem with sitting down to a productive meeting, but to have something that's just, to me, it was not gonna be productive. And, my time is valuable to me. I've spent a lot of time just this past week on commission stuff that I had to spend away from my business and my job. And if it's not something that's gonna be productive, I'm not gonna be involved. If it's just something to,
So you don't want to be on the committee?
I see no reason for me to be on the committee. Anything that the committee produces will come in front of me on the commission. I really don't want
But
to be on the committee.
they recommend the plan that we adopt for security in our courthouse. And did I understand, were you suggesting that we eliminate the security plan that we have and that the commission determine what kind of security we have in this courthouse without the input of the court or the security committee or the sheriff?
The commission has the authority and the ability to remove that plan if we so decide to. I just wanted to make sure
Is that what you say, Mr. Porter?
I say that the commission has the authority to control the courthouse, period. Entrances, exits, everything. And of course, the way it's set up is that the commission adopted the plan that the committee recommend it.
And all members of the commission were on the committee so that they all had input. That was the purpose of being on the committee, is so you had input into what we developed, because you have the expertise of knowing what the county can afford and what we can't afford.
But the bottom line is, that, you know, the chairman and the commissioners worked with the committee before, came up with a plan that everybody approved. But, you know, the commission controls the doors and the hours that the courthouse is open and everything else. So it's to that extent, yeah, I would agree that.
So what I understand is you want to revoke the plan that's been in place since 2009?
I hadn't said that I wanted to, but I just wanted to make sure that we do have that authority, if that's what the commission decided we want to do.
I don't think
We worked
it's
very
been
hard in
discussed,
2009 to develop a plan that everybody could agree on. And we all worked together then.
Yeah, I don't think nobody's even said anything about doing away with the plan.
I thought that's what he just said.
No, he was just, make sure he understood the law correctly about that.
Well, the plan includes, based on the expertise, the witnesses that appear before us, the expertise of the witnesses that appeared before us. It was recommended that in order to have a secure building, you have to have limited access to that building. That is the key to a secured facility. That's why the two doors were, all the doors were closed except for emergency exits. The north and south were left open, and then the law enforcement could use the basement for the key fob. If you eliminate or open those two doors and eliminate that provision from the plan, how are you making this courthouse safer? That would be the question I would ask each of you to answer. How are you making this building safer by opening those two doors?
Well, I mean, you've already, I don't want to hash this out again, but, I mean, my thing is, there's a lot of keys that's already out there.
Those doors are locked though.
That's what I'm saying, there's a lot of keys that's still floating out there, and if we go to a card reader, then it will make all them keys obsolete, and you'd have to be an employee to even
How does it make
access.
the keys obsolete? The keys are still,
No, they'll be on magnets. You won't use the key,
For
you'll
those
use
two
the
doors.
swipe.
Now,
Well, no, I mean, if we had to redo the system, the whole,
why would you want to though?
we got to.
Why
The
would you want to
security
open?
guy says that we got to change, we got to update our system, it's fixing to not be working.
What security guy?
Hemberg, it put it in.
it's time to upgrade the software
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's what I'm talking about, so if we're gonna do something.
I'm not signing on to security patches, because I could see where that could be an issue. Where
Right.
somebody else could get somebody's security badge. Now, if it was something biometric, where you thumb reader or
Yeah.
something like that, which they're not much more expensive than a badge reader, where it had to be that person.
Right.
You know, and I would
We
want
talked
to
about
discuss
that.
that and look at that, but that's not, I just don't think a badge.
Because anybody can drop a badge and
Right.
anybody can pick it up out there.
I don't understand why we're even having the conversation.
Right.
I mean, it's worked great for 10 years. We've
Like I
not
said, it
had
was
one
just a
incident.
question that got brought up to me, and then I had brought it up to the commission because, to see if that's something, and it may not be that the commission wants to do, but it's something that, if something gets brought to me and I feel like it's warrants,
Why would you
Thank
want
you.
to do it? That's the question. Why?
I mean, the reason it got brung up initially, we've already discussed it, was because people had seen our employees going around, it had offended some people going through security. So that was when it
You
come
think
up,
it's
was
not
if
gonna
we had an
offend them
employee
because
interest like
they
Madison
come through
County.
the card? What?
Do what now?
You think it's not gonna offend citizens to see employees using two other doors?
If there's a line of people waiting to go through security and an employee in plain clothes walks by.
The answer to that is
the
give
person-
everybody something to go around their neck if they work in this
That's a
courthouse.
lot cheaper.
I'd be fine with
I
them
mean,
showing.
they don't necessarily have to be a card swipe, just an identification card.
All they need is
And that
an
way, when they
ID.
walk by these people in this line, they'll say, oh, they work here, so that's why they don't have to go through that.
And you've got a security guard eyeballing that employee as they come in to see if something's amiss. Where you don't have that if you open these east and west doors with a card swipe. Cards get stolen.
Yeah, I don't think I'm okay with a card swipe.
I just don't see how it makes the people of Jackson County safer when they're in this courthouse to open those two doors for any purpose.
I'll agree with what Chuck just said right there. I mean, you know, lines, sometimes you come in and their motion going around. I don't like that. I mean, I like going around, but I feel like I'm no better than other people into their pockets out there.
Absolutely.
And what he's talking about, with identification, they said, well, he's employed here. That's the reason he got to skip the,
I'm all for that.
We don't get
I
that
have
many
to-
more complaints. I don't. I used to get a few when we first started this. I hadn't had a complaint about the doors in a long
Yeah,
time.
we don't.
Y'all may get them, I don't.
Once, one a month, one every 2 months since I've been here, but it ain't a.
That's part of working for the
Yeah.
public.
but when I seen this on here, you had to excuse me because I hadn't even seen you sitting there. And I was wondering, that's why I asked the chairman what brought this on.
Well, it wasn't for me, I can
Well,
assure
I
you.
didn't know.
I didn't even know it was on
Like you
the.
said, we've got things we'd have to address. And, but, you know, as far as being on the board, I'm not Mr. Venable, I didn't realize it until the day we had that first meeting. And, I mean, you talked
And I,
after that right there, and I feel okay with that.
and I assured you that I would, if y'all wanted the meetings, we would have the quarterly meetings. It just hasn't been an issue. That order that I entered was setting the quarterly meetings for the year. I included all of you on the committee because I want your input. For this to succeed, we've got to work together. And everything I'm hearing, we're not working together. I mean, our chairman called a meeting with the department heads to talk about opening these doors for employees.
No, that wasn't what it was
And I
called
wasn't. Well, you
It was
told
the
me when I got
department-
here that
it was
vote
the-
had been taken.
for. A vote had been taken.
Or you had gone around the room asking everybody how they
Yeah,
felt.
well, no, yeah, I did.
About
There wasn't no
opening those
vote.
doors.
I mean, it was just department head, that was one of, and we didn't even, because of that, we didn't even get, we had to have a meeting the next day just to do, that was for department head business, not security business. That was just one topic of 6 or 8 that was gonna be discussed. I never intended for that to be a 2.5 hour discussion just on security. Like I said, it was just, wanted to get their feelings before I went to them and brought it to them. That was all I did. Like I said, that's my job. Is whenever something comes up, I gotta bring it to this body and then they can vote however they wanna vote. You know, but I do what I'm supposed to do. Has anybody got anything else for courthouse security?
I don't.
Danny, you?
I just, I can see about the card reader deal, I wanna make sure that everybody feels safe and the building is safe as possible. That's the main thing, in my opinion, but I have heard a bunch of people talking about, even me walking around the security. But I know at times when you have court, you've probably got people late for court, waiting on to get through, yeah, but I'm for everybody going through the thing myself,
Would be, I'm all for it too. I've been here when we had no security,
Right.
and it's not a good feeling. I was here when 2 people got shot on the courthouse grounds and ran into the building, and the screaming and the bloodshed. It was not a pretty sight. I don't want to see that ever happen again.
Yeah.
And we've had something that's been working for 10 years, and why would you want to make it less secure than what it is right now? And when you open doors, you're making your building less secure. I don't care what anybody says. You can ask the sheriff. I think he would agree with me that when you open doors, you're making your building less secure.
That's all I got to say.
Mr. Sid. Anybody else? Good word.
I agree with Judge Hope.
Anybody? Okay. Next, we discuss revenue options. This is gonna be dandy. We have been meeting with legislators to try to come up with a way to, we've got to get our revenue stream up. I mean, that's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have got to have some kind of growth mechanism if we're going to repair these roads and do the things that, you know, people expect us to do. But the sad thing is our hands are tied. That we're limited on what we can do because everything that we try to do is the legislators or, you know, it has to go before them, they have to agree, then they decide on which route we take. We discussed, let's see, three different options, Mr. Venable? One of them was, do what?
We just talked about three different things.
One was,
Do we want to go into the specifics of them, or just wait? I mean, next week, we've got to send a resolution to them.
yeah,
So, Mr. Gilbert not being here, I didn't know.
Yeah, it might. Well,
And we need to have that discussion, and we need a resolution to send to them to try to get, you know, something, either on the ballot or something done through local law to take care of a problem. I agree with that 100%.
it's something I think we're gonna have to do by next week.
I don't know if it's good for us to be throwing possibilities out
No,
there.
I wasn't gonna
I
go
don't
through each one of them individually, but I'm just saying we got three different options that we're gonna do. We're gonna have to do a resolution no later than Monday, to whatever we're gonna do. Because I'm afraid it'd be too late if we wait till the next work session.
There's several different ways to go about it. There's two options. You know, I mean,
Right.
there may be several different ways for each option, but, you know, either a new tax or, you know,
Sure.
redistribution of some taxes already collected.
Right.
That's really one of those two things that has to be done in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna step in and say, I don't think it was something that was, that went undone. I mean, we had a meeting, they met with us, it didn't come together, some things like we all wanted to hear. But, you know, there was different things on the table, a tax deal. It drifted off into other plans. And I think the word got crossed up on some deals that did not come back, it was gonna benefit us. So, I mean, as far as them, they are the ones that have to do some of these things. But I think, part of it was cut out of context on where it went. And, you know, I don't wanna put out anything out there either. Cause, Danny wasn't in the meeting, Linda, and, you know, to be certain that everybody had to be on the same page before we could even move forward on anything. I mean, we are in dire need of funding. But, you know, I think that, you know, we were probably to blame on a lot of things that happened at the meeting, put it that way. So.
Well, I'm not blaming anybody.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's gotta be done
Exactly.
this coming Monday.
No.
I mean, we can't just keep waiting and kicking the can down the road. And that's what we've been doing is just, and I mean, we have got to make a decision and move forward with it. That's where we're at. Mr. Reed, you got something?
A lot of people, the general public, needs to be advised on how the tax money gets distributed. You see stuff on Facebook that one man said, he's not gonna buy nothing in Jackson County. Gas, didn't matter stuff. He said because we wasn't spending the money, or tax money right. We don't get sales tax. It goes straight to schools. You know, a lot of people think it's just because we've got sales tax, it's all coming, that's what we,
I wish it didn't
for
show up on
roads,
the receipt
yeah.
as county tax, that
Right.
2%.
Yeah.
Because it's not the county
Yeah.
tax, it's the education
the only
tax.
tax that we get off our roads is the gas tax after the city, you know, gets their disbursement. We get the crumbs that's left, very little. And we're gonna have to do something. I agree with that.
What you said, Danny, is a thing that needs to be addressed, and I've told the legislature myself on that. You know, you go out there, 90% of the people don't realize, when you go out there and buy something at Walmart, 4% of that goes to the state, 3% of the city, 2% says county tax. We get 0.
Right.
That is split between county board of education and city board of education. They have no idea that it happens. They
I
said,
don't know,
well,
how do you get it out to people? 'Cause
You
we've
got
went all
county
over this
tax.
county having meetings, it's been in the paper, I don't know how many times. I don't know how you get people to retain that information, to receive it and retain it, because you still have people.
it's like you said, it does not need to be on that little county tax thing. I mean, or have school tax on it. I mean, it's divided among them. And if we had part of that growth that they're receiving right there, Jackson County would be set up to kind of move forward. So,
People's gotta be willing to give and take at the same time, so. But something's definitely gonna have to be done. I mean, the roads that we got, how many roads we got need to be worked on?
1,100 something miles.
About 1,100 miles.
Yeah.
We done 8 miles last year, so it's.
About
92.
7 the year before. Take that off.
Well, Bob can tell you who's here. The county needs to know, we're putting out some pretty big checks.
Right.
You know, each month right there, the city schools and county schools. And them buses have to travel these roads. But that money does not come right here to this board to move forward with.
Well, one of the, I mean, we're gonna have to get back to where we're paving. We need to be paving 100 miles a year.
We gotta have something paid where the people are recognizing something being done.
Well, 100 miles a year, they can recognize that.
Well,
And
you're right.
that's what I'd like to see. And it's doable. Well, we're just gonna have to all get together and agree and get it done. But like I said, I think it's something we're gonna have to move forward on. Unless y'all can think of a different way, I think Monday's gonna be the latest that we can.
I agree, we have to do some type of resolution Monday.
We gotta move forward or something, and the quicker the better, but I don't like throwing something out there and just write off. And, they said, well, there they are going with another tax deal. It didn't pass before, don't throw a tax at me. The tax is something that everybody needs to understand. And, it's like Rick said, they have no idea that we don't involve.
Well,
in the
that's the
tax.
reason we need a good
Oh.
PR firm to promote it, and we need to earmark it and let people know exactly where it's going.
It's got to be earmarked.
Definitely gotta be earmarked.
Got
That's what
to
killed
be
it last
earmarked.
time.
Exactly.
Been earmarked.
If it's not out there explaining where that money's gonna be spent, it will not happen.
So, we're gonna just plan on, we'll try to get another meeting set up and let everybody know when it is between now and, Next week.
Calls us to
Right.
another meeting.
that's what I mean, if they do, then we'll let everybody know, but if they don't, we'll just plan on moving forward with some resolutions, bring to the meeting, and then the commission can vote on whichever one they want to go with.
So would it, should we get them to come in next meeting and meet with them, or?
We can request it. I can request it. All right, Mr. Porter. We gotta do next, do the Fund 100.
If you want to move forward with Fund 100, then you can put that, if that's where you are now,
It is.
okay, then set the rules aside, and then set the rules aside for the commission to vote on a matter tonight that is not on the agenda. The first thing you need to do, and it has to do with amending the local act that currently exists for the disbursement of those funds under Fund 100, for Road and Bridge Fund.
So what I'll do is I have to get a motion to set aside the rules for this one vote.
Yes, sir.
I guess before I do that, let me explain or do you want to explain it, Mr. Campbell, what Fund 100, what we're doing, that way everybody knows what this is?
Sure. So Fund 100 was a local act, as Mr. Porter alluded to, that was created in '88, I believe, and it was since amended in 2009. The local act was a 3 local cent gasoline tax, excise tax, and that allowed for initially
for purchase of materials only with a certain amount being spent on unpaved roads. It was later amended in 2009, which included an allowance for equipment purchase. Due to the reduction in manpower to budget constraints, the material purchase portion has outgrown our abilities, essentially. So there are some monies there that we can't access because of the verbiage in the law, the way it's written, and the fact that it can mostly all be spent on materials. So a rewording of this, which is what this essentially is, would allow those dollars to be obtained to be used for any road and bridge expenditure, but only road and bridge expenditure. But those expenditures would then include equipment, materials, and labor.
Thank you. So just make sure everybody's clear, it can't be moved nowhere else. It stays in roads and bridges. The only thing changes is the percentage on material versus equipment.
Just make the dollars more flexible.
Yeah,
And that would be spent on roads and bridges only.
right, right. I need a motion to set rules aside to do this one vote.
Set the rules aside for this one thing.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now I need a motion to approve the resolution Fund 100.
Yeah, and this, if I can, this will be a resolution for the commission to adopt, to send to the legislative delegation, for them to propose to the legislature an amendment to the act. So that's what you're doing, is you're not doing it yourself, you're requesting that the legislative delegation amend the act.
That they amend the act, when this money be transferred from roads and bridges only, is what you're saying.
It's always been for roads and bridges, and it will still be just for roads and bridges, not anything else. It's Fund 100 still. You just use it for.
Just give more flexibility.
Correct.
I need a motion for the Fund 100.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Next, well, I guess, do I need to adjourn before we go into this special meeting for voting precincts or just? Okay. All right, well, we're gonna go right on in because of the time, right on into our special meeting, big voting precincts. Anybody that wants to can come up here. I've got maps, all the paperwork. So that way, everybody kind of look at it and make a decision on how the commission wants to move forward on the voting.
We had originally discussed doing away with setting a number and however many voters we had below that number, but geographically, that's almost impossible to do.
Right. We got some that was, on the original, when we first started talking about it, that crossed over, lines, 22 and 23 district. So we gotta make sure whatever changes are made, that we don't split those, right?
That
22,
can be
23.
split, it just has to be, you know, Kathy would have to work with it.
It just make it harder if it was split.
You're gonna have to have more balance for that precinct.
Balance style,
The
yeah.
more
Yeah.
diverse, the divided you got it, I mean, you know, but you want to try to keep your districts together.
Right.
1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you got your, what she's talking about is your,
Congressional district.
Yeah, I
congressional
think we
districts.
can make some consolidation without getting into crossing over lines.
I wish we had a congressional district map overlaid on top of this as well.
Well,
It would help considerably.
We've already got, I mean, we have 5 every election that have,
Overlaps already.
yeah, that have 2, 3, 4, 5 is the most. Macedonia and Mint Creek have 5 different ballot styles. But that's just, there's no way to get around that, that's just the way it goes.
Well, if we can do
There's no
those,
way to follow all
if
those
we can
lines.
combine these two instead of these two, to prevent some of that, it would be, you know,
And those
instead
two
of
are in
compounding the
outlying
problem.
areas. Mr. Venable, those two are in outlying areas, Macedonia and Mink Creek. You wouldn't have to worry about those because those couldn't be combined whatsoever with Mink Creek being on Highway 79. That's one congressional district, and then Macedonia. The ones that, in my experience, last 7 years, I've looked at is the valley. You've got, when you turn off of Highway 72, going into the valley, you cross the railroad tracks, the first polling precinct you come to is Garth. And then you move on down to Trenton. And then you've got to think about the geographical spacage. If we look at Princeton, from Princeton to Bishop, which some call the Swain community, that's 3 miles. From Bishop to Estelfort, that's another 3 miles. From Princeton again to Putman Mountain is 3 miles. Putman Mountain voted, I think, 11, and the most they voted since I've been a county employee. So all those are in the same district. And there's 3 miles. We're looking at the horse and buggy days of yesteryear that people couldn't get to a voting precinct. Now by car, you're looking at 3 to 5 minutes. The longest portion of that is coming from Putman Mountain because of the way the road is.
Right.
But all those in the valley themselves, and then you might look at Limrock Aspel. You've got one voting precinct at the waterworks on Highway 72. Then you've got the Limrock Fire Department, which is about 3 miles apart. So that's another one you could look at. There's quite a few on the maps that we gave you on that.
And like the folks at Larkinville, some of those live in the city limits of Scottsboro, can't vote in county elections, and then
Yes.
if you moved, Larkinville, further away toward Limrock, you're gonna wind up with additional congressional,
Mhm.
you know, it's just, I don't know if we can get this done in a short period of time. There's a lot to study. I mean, there's, some of them are easy, you know.
Some of them
are, you know, no-brainers, but some of them are going to take some study. And I think once we come up with something, we need to get input from poll workers because
Another issue.
they know how confusing and hard it is, you know, with the ballots, more so than we do. I mean, they're the ones that-
Another issue that we've always discussed, and I discussed it with Mr. Duffy, was the 2 schools that we use. And we're talking about the safety of the kids. You know, it's free access, Macedonia and North Sand Mountain, Higdon. And Mr. Duffy has talked to different people, but I don't know what you could do with that, you know, because it's open access to anybody. And so that's one of the things that the principals have come to me about. And I directed them towards Superintendent Dukes. And that's something that may come up at a later date.
How many do we have at schools? Just
Those 2, Macedonia and Higdon, with North Sand Mountain High School.
I don't like them being in the school. Personally.
Wherever you put it, you're gonna have to have handicap access restrooms.
I wish
Because so
there were
many
all
people
fire
are meeting outside
departments,
some
you
of
know,
these
but-
places.
Getting over here on District 4, that's where the majority of them are. And I've tried to meet with my poll workers, talked to several of them. Several of them understand, some of them don't, not too happy. But I told them the situation is, I said basically 4 elections per year. If you get into that, it's $3,000. Part of them we had to carry out the porta johns. You know, they had to pick those up, have to bring them back. What I'd like to see happen, and that's for these poll workers, part of it just come out and tell you. I mean, I've had some of them said, hey, you know, they want to change it and move it to Princeton. It's 15 miles from the railroad track to Princeton, not counting all the little crooks and crannies up on the creeks and things. I'd like to see the Bishop precinct, which is Swain and Elsterport, be combined into one at the fire hall. Like Kathy said, you need facilities, bathroom facilities, handicap facilities. On the Trenton and Garth, I'd like to see them brought together. and be put at Trenton at the fire hall. The Holly Tree Preston, and Hambrick, Putnam Mountain, bring them all together and be put in Preston at the fire hall. And they kind of agreed with that there. The people in Garth would be willing to come up, they said they'd come up to Trenton, that would work. Elster Fork did not want, if you go all the way to hell Elster Fork, up past Gray's Chapel, which some of you Felix probably knows in back roads, and come back down to Preston, you're gonna be looking at about 16 miles, well, 17 basically. And they would like to have that one at the fire hall there, because it's a lot of elderly folks. And I talked to Clifford Hutchins, and he got it on a survey out there at Garth, and he said, I've just been trying to put these things back together where voters will come together. And he has, he worked hard. He said, I can name you off about 14 voters that just said, hey, they're gonna take it away from us, we just won't vote. And I said, well, I'm gonna try, instead of having 7 in Bankrock Valley, cut it down to 3. And it's what, on this part right here would be. Keep them all in local fire departments. They all got handicap facilities, bathrooms, and nothing involved, elsewhere.
Could you go over again what you laid out?
The Bishop and Elster Fork will be combined in Elster Fork at the fire hall.
Okay, Bishop to Elster Fork.
I even had some first phone call I got was the Bishop deal, because it started back with my great grandfather's name. They didn't want to take the Bishop name, and the Elster Fork used to be Collins. They want to know, can we leave it Bishop Collins? Okay, going down to Holly Tree. Holly Tree, Preston, and Hambrick will become Preston. Trenton and Garth will be brought up to Trenton. 3 precincts instead of 7.
Trenton also.
Trenton will be the place where the election will be held at the Trenton Fire Hall, when Garth been voting at Trenton.
Oh, I thought you had Garth in Holly Tree. Princeton.
Is that on a different district?
Yeah, it's the same district, but it's, at the foot of 8, if you go off Skyline through Letcher.
Could you add it to Trenton?
Didn't have a Trenton, it was not there, we added it to Woodburn.
What are you talking about, Jeff?
Holly Springs.
Well, Holly Springs, I went across these things right there, Holly Springs, now, could become Meat Creek, Pleasant Grove, is that right?
Holly Springs.
Holly Springs and Pleasant Groves are designated on the voting list
You could split them.
as 31A, 31B,
That, we got,
which is illegal.
that's gotta be fixed.
Holly Springs.
There's one that's 31A, 31B.
Holly
It's,
Springs.
it's not,
Could it become Letcher?
Well, part of them go to Letcher and part of them go to Woodburn.
Not Letcher, what is it called?
Holly Springs would have to come to Pleasant Groves, to the community center,
That's what I said.
because that's illegal, and that's gonna have to be changed.
Here's a voting deal, how they want this was, presidential election.
Yeah, mine's not even highlighted Pleasant Grove. Got a highlighter.
That's how many voted up there. That's how many, it's a past election, this is presidential election. I went back, got a copy from Donna.
so what did you say again, Felix, about 31A, 31B?
31A, 31B, I don't know when it was split, but that is illegal.
But where do we need to move them to?
I would move it to Pleasant Grove. And Holly Springs, which is held at the church, that's close enough to Pleasant Groves because you couldn't move it to Woodville because that would cross a congressional district. But 31A and 31B needs to combine at 31A, which is Pleasant Groves, I think on the, where we gave you the list of the precincts.
Yeah.
But those two are gonna have to be combined.
How about moving Asheville to Limrock?
That way it would be out of the Waterworks building at the fire hall.
3.5 mile apart right there, basically.
That'd be a good idea there.
Whatever you do, just don't drag it out, because you need to have it done by next month.
Next month?
You need to decide what you're gonna do by next month.
What do we, after we do this, I mean, I know it has to be approved, it's gotta be looked at, what?
Y'all approve whatever you do.
That's it. That's it. Once we say this is a polling place, that's it.
Yeah, the Department of Justice doesn't have any input anymore.
Yeah,
They used to, but they
that's
don't.
just a,
And once you get it all signed, sealed, and
Now, do we change the
give it
names?
to us.
And you gotta go to work.
I gotta go to work.
Well, the names will be the same. When those are dissolved. You can just say, you can change the name to whatever.
I told them it's probably gonna be Upper Valley, Mid Valley, Valley.
There's state laws.
Yeah.
What was gonna do, Holly Springs and Woodville?
I think first this thing got a lot of racket.
Holly Springs and Woodville would cross districts, so it would be Holly Springs and Pleasant Grove.
Upper Valley, Middle Valley, Lower.
three precincts will be called.
Mr. Siska, you have that precinct paper,
Right here.
well, there's another one,
Brian, what is this?
right here.
Okay.
Mr. Guthrie, each one of y'all have this.
No, I just got two.
Brian,
Three.
that's the community center, Brian.
Yeah, it's right, you know where you eat
That's
breakfast
up on
at.
top of mine. The little folks at Long Island,
They don't have a place to do that.
They ain't got no choice.
they go up the mountain, to Brian.
Go to Bridgeport.
Right.
No,
Across the river.
what I'm telling you about earlier, larger, that would be bringing from here to larger than the asphalt.
It's, asphalt.
There's like 7 voting places in all of this.
Here's the fire hall.
From all far off.
Hey,
And then,
I got six, there's 7 in Daniels district.
and asphalt is up in Jackson County Water Works. There's 30 miles.
Them say they come by and get them.
And then you see Pleasant Grove's at 31A.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna see Holly Springs,
It could
which
be.
is 31.
I mean, these two here,
That's
these two here should
Like them together.
they'll take it to this flat.
Because when those are read in the ballot boxes, and they're all combined together as one
Christian Hall.
post
Right
place,
home. Wouldn't it
They
make more
can't-
sense to put that
we
in
can't keep
front?
that way.
Can you
I
try to
haven't
keep
looked
it out
on the
of
map to
church?
see.
I know there are people.
It's on 14, you know, if you go talking about 117 Hacker Drive,
Well,
you go down there,
If that's
turn left.
possible, I think, is that right?
Yeah, I haven't looked on the
I
map.
think it was
I just looked at
split,
numbers.
but halls
It's
of
called,
the different
Christian
denominations.
Hall, right here.
It's Caperton
Where
Chapel
Pleasant
Church.
Grove and Holly,
Pretty good little lot.
and then the Baptist. So,
At top of the mountain on one side.
split for my research.
That's what I mean, I can't start over.
Yeah, maybe one goes back here.
Where my Mr. It probably ain't 6 miles.
Which one? Caperton Chapel.
This is like.
I think we've had as many as 200, maybe close to 200.
This is like.
But Black Rock,
16,
What about
because it's hard trying to get into that church anyway. They will not let you leave anything. They want it gone the next day.
So that,
You have to find somebody with a key.
what was it called?
And say, you don't want you to be responsible for everything. in the church.
486 registered voters,
And,
it's probably about a month.
Would it be a problem combining it with
In 18,
Flat Rock?
that's
I don't see
183.
why Flat Rock has the facility.
Number
We could even put in 2 voting machines at the Longview Wayne.
I've got who's registered. But that don't mean anything.
It's 108, 16 is
That's the
281.
number.
So it would accommodate.
A couple hundred, well, I mean, that would just make Flat Rock. You don't have to-
Right. It ain't that far.
It's about 6 miles.
Well, I mean, it ain't far when you start looking at it, from Flat Mountain to, Flat Rock, 7.5 miles.
Right.
listen, I'm going, District 1 is 8, District 2 has 8, District 3 has 4, District 4 has 10. That totals 38.
Pleasant Grove's not on there.
I got that one.
Okay.
And Holly Springs.
Huh?
And Holly Springs.
I guess that's the, yeah, there's 1 and 2 Roberts.
That's where-
1 and 8.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
31A.
District 4, that makes 11 in District 4. 12 in District 3. 8 in District 2, and 8 in District 1. I'm just trying to count the districts, how many was in each district. So if we done that in District 4, what you talking about, we'd turn 7 into 3, so I'd take 4 off of there. So we would go down to 7 in District 4.
That makes sense.
Only 7 in Bridgeport. District 9 was 7.
District 1's 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then if we combines what he's talking about,
That'd be just 6.
yeah.
Well, I'm missing another one then, because there's 39 in here.
Well, you got the one that,
Yeah,
there's
that's
30
absentees there.
yeah.
Yeah.
there's
But what I'm saying,
37.
he's looking at Christian Home and Flat Rock, moving Christian Home, Flat Rock, so that's going, that'll cut this report down to 7.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, okay.
We cutting them down.
Well, you just moving Christian Home and Flat
Y'all know about that district out there? There's 254 voted out there in Christian Home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Flat Rock can handle. I feel
Distance up there.
about 6 miles.
I know it's not far from the highway up there, but how far does that road go back around that bluff run through there?
These folks right in here, what do they vote?
Where you talking about?
Came from Chapel, I mean, well, I'm in there, it's a pretty good area.
These folks right in here, they split off.
Yeah, they go to Higdon and then they go to Higdon or,
You talking about closing that, that's, when you look at a mile.
yeah, that's a lot of
Big
area right there.
area there.
That's what I'm saying, that's a long distance out
There's
there.
a lot of folks live out in here.
Well, from
It's not far.
from here to here, I mean, you ain't talking about big deal.
What about from here to here?
You live there, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, well, that's 491, that's over there at, with the mountain. Where do they vote? Do they vote out here?
I guess so. Where's the folks that come go?
491, where do they vote at?
Probably Stevenson.
Cone Guff? what is
Yeah,
Stevenson?
Stevenson.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got people driving from the Fackler Texaco on Highway 72 all the way to Stevenson. Everybody that's on 45 past 137 goes to Stevenson.
Right.
All of 137 goes to Stevenson.
Exactly.
Everything across the river goes
But
to
if you go
Stevenson
from
to a
the end
certain
of the
point.
boat ramp down there across the river to Stevenson, how many miles is that? 20,
Close to it.
25? So,
I mean, you ain't gonna have nowhere near that.
no,
From your furthest point, you
Yeah.
ain't gonna have 12 miles.
yeah.
What's your suggestion, buddy? You said you were getting phone calls about the school, so what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, at this time, we don't have anywhere at North Sand Mountain that we can
Right here. It's
put
running right
the
here.
voting precinct. That's the problem.
Right.
Part of it goes to Long Island.
Macedonia, same
This part
way.
here probably goes
We
to
can't put it at
Stevenson.
the fire hall because there's just not enough room for parking.
Those
And it's a dangerous road.
Use them,
And, sir,
the churches that he,
well,
a couple of them's got some big parking lots there.
I think, was there one that,
Higdon, you know, I mean, Mount Olive Baptist, right before you get to the Shellmart,
Oh,
to the
well,
left.
yeah, that's one of them I was talking about.
That would be-
Miles, and he agreed to it, he said, as long as I'm the,
deacon there,
Deacon.
so.
but that's the thing, he said, but if something happened to me, I couldn't assure you that the next, you know, the next bunch would let you. So that's the only bad thing about having them at places like that is you don't ever know from, you know, if they have change of ranks, it could change from year to year. But that's the best place, I think it's the only place.
Well, that's, going back to Preston right here,
It's got a big parking lot.
I'm gonna look at this right here, the fire hall or the Masonic Hall. That's the only kicks down there, there's very little parking in Preston.
I just
You know,
places to play.
When I talked to people at Masonic Hall, and part of them was agreeing they was gonna get with their rest of their folks. I said, don't put it out there yet, but I won't bring it up.
But with the volume of voters, I've been down there all day long before.
Just talking about 200 people.
Parking's really not an
Talking
issue.
about 200 people all day.
I know, but it really ain't about
Lodge,
placing the park.
the lodge has got a good, it's a grassy area if it's dry.
Yeah, but when you pull, if you pull in the poll workers,
And,
you basically got the parking lot filled up, there's not much there, in car hall parking space.
one we didn't discuss, Mr. Guffey, that, Long Island. It's the furthest out, and they vote, pretty much just a little bit more than Putman Mountain does. They could go to Bryant, it's basically if necessary. But they have a place to vote, because they don't accommodate that many people. I think the last election, they had 20. I've seen it lower than that. How many,
64.
did they vote 64? So that's in a building, a quarter size of this room.
64, 18, 68, and 16, and 53, and 14.
So they've come up, so
What kind of building is it in?
it's a block building.
Block building it belongs to.
It's about the size of a well
Does it have
house.
restrooms and everything in it, or they use the church?
I think they walk over to the church, I guess. The poll workers do. But it's literally a block building, quarter size of this room.
That's not, yeah.
Just right there.
So,
How many poll workers you got there, 2,
4.
4?
Gotta have 4 and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Four?
What was your
That's right.
thoughts on, what'd you say about, the day, we'll go, Larkinville and Aspel
That's tough.
and,
Limrock.
all these together.
Limrock and Aspel could be put together. Now, I don't know about Larkinsville. Ms. Donna, does it cross any lines, Larkinsville and Limrock and Aspel?
That's true, yeah.
Larkinville has city people in it.
That's what I thought, because that, Larkinsville has, yeah, they've got about 5 ballots.
Districts.
4.
4, I knew it was 4 or 5. So you couldn't do that with them. But Limrock and Aspel, 3 miles apart, you going from a working business to a non-working fire hall.
That's the distance apart right there.
Move, you just, the ballot styles just have to move with them.
The distance apart from Larkinville to the stockyard over to there would be basically 6 miles probably, you know.
Yeah, well, it would increase the ballot styles.
And then everybody that lived up here went to school at Bridgeport.
Do we need to having our, we're talking about having a community meeting at Princeton. Next work session, this, the next work session, we're gonna do that, we're gonna need to start it at 6 o'clock at night.
If this gotta be done in a month's time, we better worry about this right here.
Yeah, we better do this and put that off to the
I
next.
think you're saying before March started, correct? Is that what you're saying?
According to the that I read, it says you need to have decided what you're gonna do by March.
Well, it's here.
So that'd have to be voted on by the end of March or by the 1st of March?
By March.
I'll pull it out
2
and see
weeks.
if it has a specific date on it.
We can look at it, maybe
It's March.
I mean, we can, I mean, that's fine, and we can have a meeting about this while we're over there.
Now, what Mr. Sis
That makes
You know,
sense.
That makes sense in the valley. It's just, you know, some of these others, I'm not familiar with some of the areas. Y'all live out
If
there.
you need to tweak it year after next, in non-election years, then you can look at it again 2 years from now.
Pleasant Grove, Fletcher, and that, church, could them all be put as one right there at, or is it on different districts?
Well, you start taking
Redo these real quick.
incorporated municipalities and trying to combine them, and when they have their city elections, then, you know, it gets,
That's what you thought, but it had to be already, right?
Ridiculous
But-
crab tree.
But it's possible, you know.
Because Letcher is closer to Larkinsville than it is anything else.
we can do the ones that are easy. We can do the ones that are easy.
Well, that's, I mean,
I was gonna
Take
say,
care
y'all
of
need to
that.
divide
We'll
that
work.
up, one person
I got
take each
mine.
area.
Y'all get y'all. Mine haven't made it for 2 months.
Mike said he's gonna go home now, y'all figure it out.
if we do the one in District 4, we're.
Go home
Mr.
tonight, work on
Says
District
the
1 for me.
Danny's giving you your
If we don't like that.
See, I'll be all
But it saves a lot of money,
And
that's
then we can,
itself.
2016 presidential.
and another thing, we can get some of these other ones in there.
District 3 still got a bunch of voting places. Of course, if we run out for the Limrock, that would cut one out.
Melinda's not here, y'all should do that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Just put them all over and move them to the house.
Somebody
can see her now.
It'd be a big old her house on District 3 in Scottsboro.
Mr. Says, can you put together what you, the way you're wanting to lay them out?
Yeah, I got it good together.
Before you leave, let me get a copy of that.
I don't know if a couple machine copy that or not.
Oh, yeah.
Read it, baby.
What about District 3? I mean, there's a couple in there to me, that's, you know, we talked about that before, Felix, about, you wanna go over them, the ones that we talked about in District 3? You can come up here.
Yeah.
Come up here.
This is a big boy chair too.
Go to the big boy table.
Feel honored sitting beside you. You
I was just sitting there and asked Mr. Elkie if I could be excused.
No.
No. And the rain's gonna be there when we get out of here.
This is District 3.
Okay,
So where are you thinking about it?
well, you can mark Mink Creek off your list, and that's far enough out that,
That's gonna have to stay.
that's gonna have to stay.
Okay.
Then, of course, Aspel and Limrock, those two need to be combined.
Which one is the better facility?
The fire hall.
Them out.
Uh-huh. Because you're looking at, that's Highway 72, that's the waterworks. That building is open during November 6th. That's when we got our power cut by the tornado.
Yeah.
So,
Langston's gonna have to stay.
Langston, geographically, Langston's gonna have to stay. Ms. Donna, what, as far as the lines, is there any difference between Langston and Macedonia much? Ballot style. Do we use the same ballot style on Langston and Macedonia, or does it cross over?
Langston doesn't have any different. Macedonia does. Langston does.
It's got a municipality, but it's.
Yeah, so,
So what about Letcher?
Ledger and Larkinsville,
Is this at the stock barn?
that's the stock barn.
And did we talk about moving from the stock?
Bringing them into the city.
If it was gonna be moving, where it'd be closer right there to the fire department in Aspel, I mean, in Limrock anywhere.
I had one call, like, got blistered up pretty good.
Only one call?
Yeah, well, one that blistered me up, I had more than one call, but.
Houston, they rest the call.
Yeah.
We'll have to go out and start meeting with them, man.
Any more? What you thinking of her?
Well, they would need my district, you know.
No, really.
I took a call.
And I actually never thought about moving the Ledger. Larkinsville, you know, we had talked about it because of ease of convenience, trying to get in and get everything set up. And
Which one
finding
was,
people.
which one of them was the one we had so much trouble getting in?
I had problems at the stock barn trying to catch somebody. Finally, I found somebody with a key. Ledger, same way, have to find the preacher. If he's gone, there's no way to get in. You know, there's a few like that. Christian Home, those were the ones that I referred to Judge Manning because they wanted to give me a key, but they wanted me to say that I was responsible for anything that happened at the church, and I would not take that responsibility. So I deferred them to the probate judge, and I don't guess they got in touch with him, because I'm not gonna be responsible for an entire church. And so that one, that's, I would really like to see that one moved to Flat Rock. I think that it would, because we could always put 2 machines out there like we did at Susan, Bridgeport. We've got 3 here in the city.
Move which one now?
Caperton's Chapel,
It's,
Christian home,
Christian home, the Flat Rock.
to a Flat Rock.
We jumped from District 3 to District 1.